Okay, shalom. Very interesting lesson, this lesson. We're going to be looking at this concept of Moshiach's horse. And the secrets revealed. Basically, the horse is referring to the secrets. Okay, let's just go and have a look at this particular paragraph from the Torah, from the Zohar, sorry. It's taken from Ketetse, this is verse 4, and this is according to the Sulam commentary. Okay, so the Zohar is split up differently according to the Zohar commentary. So this is from the book Ketetse, and it's obviously right at the beginning of that book in Torah, in the Zohar. So it says here, it is not the custom of the king and the matron to ride a donkey, literally chamor. Now, we're given some commentary. This is the Sulam commentary, Rabbi Ashlag. Okay, and when it's in cap locks here, this is the commentary. So he's put namely the literal understanding, the Hebrew chamor of the Torah, which is wheat and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, as mentioned. So previously there's mentioned that wheat refers to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In fact, according to the Talmud, or I think it's in the Talmud, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is wheat. There are various opinions. It's all coded messages, by the way. These are the secrets that are revealed, and there's lots and lots of significance with the 4 different fruits that are mentioned. One is wheat, one is figs, one is wine, and then I think in the Midrash there's mention of it being etrog, an etrog. Anyway, it's all mysterious stuff, and I have done teachings on the concept of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This concept of the knowledge of good and evil comes up later in the text whilst we're analysing this particular verse down here from Habakkuk. Okay, so it says, instead they ride on horses. So this is talking about the king and the queen. Okay, Yod He Waw He and Malkuth, basically. For Malkuth is not treated lightly, so has to have the queen ride on a donkey, and even more so for the king, who is Yod He Waw He, for it is no place for commoners and servants. That is Metatron, who is called a commoner and a servant, whose way is to ride on a donkey. This is why it says of the Messiah, when Yisrael will have no merit, humble, which in Hebrew is ani, and riding on a donkey. So obviously when Mashiach ben Yosef came, who is Yeshua, he had to ride on a donkey because they had no merit. In order for him to come fully revealed riding on a horse, with all the secrets of the Torah revealed through him, he had to come riding on a donkey like a paw. So this is all coded messages, okay, with just the literal understanding of the Torah, which you've got to understand. The Moshiach ben Yosef is the secret aspect of the Torah. I'll just pull up why. Because here we can see from here, secret, which is the sod of the Torah, the hidden meaning, comes to 70, which is the letter Ayin, which is the missing letter from Yeshua's name, is cursed, Yimech Shemo was Zikro, and his name within Rabbinical Judaism at this time is Yeshu, as a result. But the secret sod, spelt out, Samech Vav Daleth, okay, comes to 566, which is exactly the same as Mashiach ben Yosef, 566, and that's taken from the teachings of the Vilna Gaon that are within the book, the Kol HaTorah. So basically, came riding on a donkey. The Torah, the literal interpretation of the Torah doesn't reveal Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, because he's the hidden concept. So the fact that Mashiach ben Yosef came riding on a donkey really is giving us an indication it's very difficult to determine through the literal interpretation of the Torah that he is indeed the Mashiach, because he was Mashiach ben Yosef, which is the secret level of the Torah, and not until he comes riding on a horse will it become very evident exactly who he is, and that's exactly also what the Mashiach ben Yosef is, because it's a very, very, very vast concept, and we're all a part of that concept in one way or another, and we're all sharing in his mission, and he unites us all as one together. Okay, so there's lots of different aspects to the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, but the primary way in which Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh has revealed this concept to us is through the life of Yeshua and the entire 2,000 years, since he was crucified, or since his death, almost 2,000 years ago. Okay, so there's everything that has happened in this last 2,000 years is in part revealing some of those secrets of the Torah. Okay, when he returns, he'll be riding on a horse, when we'll have full understanding the concept of all the hidden secret meanings. Okay, it'll be all fully revealed, and ultimately this reveals the glory of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, and it unites heaven and earth together. It establishes the kingdom, the Malchuth of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh on earth as it is in heaven. It's all just going to be glorious. This is the reign of Mashiach ben David. Okay, so back to this then. So, which is we eating the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, as mentioned. Instead, they ride on horses, the secret of the mysteries of the Torah. Okay, this is the meaning of you ride upon your horses, you chariots of salvation. That's from Habakkuk 3:8. We're going to be having a look at that verse, and it reveals wonderful, wonderful secret hidden meanings for us to be able to understand the difference between Yeshua, who rode on a donkey, and when he comes back as Mashiach ben David, riding on a horse. Okay, accompanied by all the secret mysteries of the Torah. For Malkuth is not treated lightly, so as to have the queen ride on a donkey, and even more so the king, for it is no place for commoners and servants. That is Metatron, that is called a commoner and a servant, whose way is to ride on a donkey. Okay, so when Mashiach ben Yosef is not fully revealed, and I've talked about this a lot, when Mashiach ben Yosef is hidden, okay, and the secret is not fully revealed, we have got something there instead of him, the revelation of the King of Kings. Okay, so Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh is the King over Kings of Kings. Mashiach ben Yosef, or the concept of Mashiach, is the King over Kings. Okay, when we haven't got a full understanding of the concept of Mashiach, we've got something there instead. We've got something there called Metatron, okay, and he's really the slave who rules. He rules until Mashiach ben David can be fully anointed. Mashiach ben David cannot be fully anointed until the entire concept of Mashiach ben Yosef is revealed, because that is the throne upon which Mashiach ben David sits. Okay, and I've talked about this a lot in my teachings. So there's a process involved. First, he comes riding on a donkey. Okay, or he has been misinterpreted as a result of that. And then we've got this, and then he's obviously gone into exile to do whatever Mashiach ben Yosef has got to do in exile, gathering the lost house of Israel and return them back to Jerusalem, establish the land of Israel again, and bring the exiles back to the land of Israel and rebuild Jerusalem, all things like that associated with the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. And that is what he has been doing, primarily returning the lost of the house of Israel, but also the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef has been operating in a different way within the house of Yehuda. He's been operating in a different way, i.e. to re-establish Jerusalem and the country of the state of Israel, and to return the lost of the house of Yehuda first. Okay, so that's also an aspect of Mashiach ben Yosef. This is why we've all got a part to play in his mission. Okay, let's have a look. Where did I get to? So, all right, that is Metatron, that is called a commoner and a servant, whose way is to ride on a donkey. This is why it says the Messiah, when Israel will have no merit, humble, ani, and riding on a donkey, from Zechariah 9:9. Ani stands for the Mishnah orders of Aruvin, Nida, and Yevamot. Okay, so it's a very complicated section of the Torah, the Mishnah. This is to do with the woman's monthly cycles. Okay, and then you've got this one, Yevamot, the initials of which form Ani, paw. Okay, So the word ani, as in poor and riding on a donkey, or humble and riding on a donkey, are the exact same initial letters of these three orders of the Mishnah. There's 6 in total. So these 3 also, the initial letters spell humble, ani. So this is basically saying that when the Mashiach comes, humble and riding on a donkey, he comes and it's just a revelation of, it's connected to a revelation of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the what's called the wheat. So the Mishnah is likened to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because it's about, this is good, this is evil, this is holy, this is not, and do this, don't do this. So it's obviously there's an aspect of good and evil in that. Okay, but when it comes with the revealed secrets, we'll see it's all good. So these are the Mishnah orders, the initial letters which form an E part. The rest of the orders of the Mishnah are comprised in these. So all the others, the rest of the 3 are all comprised within those initial 3, which indicates that as long as one does not know the mysteries of the Torah, but only the revealed Torah, one is poor in knowledge and riding upon a donkey, which is an aspect of the tree of knowledge and good and evil. The Holy One, blessed be, is not considered a king until he rides on his horse, which is the congregation of Israel, namely Malkuth, according to the secret of, I compare you, O my love, to a mare of the chariots of Pharaoh, from Shir Hashirim, which is Song of Songs, which is wholly good without any evil. So obviously these are distinguishing, this is good, this is evil, but ultimately the tree of life will reveal that everything that has happened within the entire 6,000 years of creation is for only good, because Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh is only good. It can only do good, and his plan is good, and he has been rectifying the entire of creation in order to receive a revelation of his good. Okay, so we've been going through a rectification until we're able to fully receive that he desires to bestow upon us. So there's a progression involved with that. So I hope you can understand, in terms of Yeshua, what would this mean then? It means he did come humble and riding on a donkey. Why? Because Israel had no merit. Okay, for him to come fully revealed. And when he is fully revealed, obviously the king and the queen are fully revealed, i.e. Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, the name is fully revealed and his kingdom is fully revealed. Until then, until the concept of the Mashiach comes fully revealed, riding on a donkey, expressed through all the secrets of the hidden Torah, we're in a state of, the Mashiach is in a state of poverty. We are in a state of poverty because we are poor. We are only understanding the Torah in a literal way, which is equivalent to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And until the Mashiach comes riding on a horse, we are not eating from the fruit of the tree of life, which is to be fully aware and conscious of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. Ultimately, he is the tree of life. Okay, and the Mashiach reveals that. The concept of the Mashiach fully reveals the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. So it takes us from that place of being poor, riding on a donkey, only trying to understand the Mashiach through the literal interpretation of the Torah, instead of diving into the secrets and revealing all the treasures regarding the concept of the Mashiach within the secrets of the Torah that reveal the absolute glory of the King over kings of kings, Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, and also establish his kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, so it's making that progression, it's exploring all these secrets and revealing all the hidden truth and aligning that to the entire 6,000 years, or that we are most aware of, these last 2,000 years of the Messianic era, that have been part of that, preparing us to receive all those secrets and all those, that hidden treasure and all that hidden wealth that ultimately reveal the King of Glory himself, Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. Okay, so let's go and have a look at some of these secrets. First of all, Ani, poor, which is mentioned here, poor or humble, can be rearranged to spell Ain. Okay, I think I've put the wrong, that should be a nun, just wait a minute. Right, so I've corrected that now. So Ain is the letter Ayin, okay, but it's also, Ayin, sorry, is also the word for eye. So we're able to see and perceive the glory of Yod He Waw He, okay. And then I've just pulled out this. I'm not going to have a look at this particular verse. This is for another lesson, perhaps. But at the gathering of the steeds of Pharaoh's chariots have I silenced you, my beloved. So this is the verse from Song Over Songs. I got this from Chabad.org. Obviously, this is the usual translation of that verse. I compare you, O my love, to a mare of the chariots of Pharaoh. So that's from Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs. Which is wholly good without any evil. So we're not talking about perceiving Yod He Waw He through eating of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil without an adequate understanding of the concept of Moshiach. Okay, so we're just basically eating the wheat, or we're eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and all we know is this is good, that is not good, this is holy, that is not good, secular and holy, and things like that. And we're seeing everything in terms of good, this is evil. And whilst we're in exile, the evil is amplified more for us. We are able to perceive evil much more than we are able to perceive good. We are not able to see beyond the outer facade into the heart of what is actually occurring, which is very much connected to the hidden soul of Mashiach ben Yosef that is working in the entire of creation to bring us all to that place where we can finally receive that complete revelation of his name, Yod He Waw He, and usher in the messianic era of Mashiach ben David. So Mashiach ben Yosef is the light, if you like, within the entire of creation, bringing us to that place of rectification, bringing us all there and helping to accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished in order to fully reveal the name Yod He Waw He to us, preparing us and rectifying us through this exile to bring us to that place of perfection where we can, and bring us to a place of peace where we're able to receive. Okay, peace between body and soul, peace between Israel and the nations, peace between Yaakov and Esau, peace between physicality and materiality. By the way, Chomer, donkey, is related to the aspect of physicality, and in exile, physicality dominates. So I hope you're getting a picture. These are the sorts of things I'm talking about all the time. We've got to have an eye to see beyond all that into the hidden realm, the realm of Mashiach ben Yosef, that Yod He Waw He is doing within this outer facade of good and evil. You know, we've got to see beyond to the point where we're only able to comprehend the good. We are so attached to the name Yod He Waw He. We are so illuminated by the truth regarding the concept of Mashiach and all that Yod He Waw He has been doing through the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef throughout these last 2,000 years, and how that's connected to the soul of Moshiach, and how that's ultimately connected to the final revelation of Mashiach ben David. And we're able to perceive that, then we're able to perceive Yod He Waw He, and once we're able to perceive the name Yod He Waw He, we're only aware that there's only good and nothing else beside, because Yod He Waw He is only good. Okay, the fact that we can't perceive that truth is because we are poor. We are not fully understanding the hidden secrets of the Torah, which are Mashiach ben Yosef, as I've just pointed out. Sod equals Mashiach ben Yosef. So we are not able to comprehend the name Yod He Waw He. We're poor, we're riding on a donkey, and we need to up our game. We need to up our game to be able to perceive the truth regarding the concept of Mashiach, and then through that perceive the absolute glory and authority and sovereignty and oneness and perfection of the name Yod He Waw He. Okay, so we've got to get to the place where we're riding on a horse. Let's go and have a look. Okay, just let's go back. I've not done my animations properly, I'll just change that. Right, so let's go and have a look at these secrets, this horse that we want to see revealed, the Mashiach riding on the horse. So that Zohar pointed out this particular verse, didn't it? Was the Lord angry with the rivers? Is his wrath against the... was the Lord angry with the rivers? Is his wrath against the rivers and his fury against the sea? Only that you rode on the steeds with your chariots of salvation. So this is what was pointed out in the Zohar, wasn't it? As this section of this verse, only that you rode on the steeds with your chariots and salvation. They had a slightly different interpretation from that. But so this is what we're going to have a look at, because this is obviously some secret hidden in there that we need to see revealed. What does this secret that they've left for us that we can decode now, what does that reveal about all that we've just talked about, the whole concept of Mashiach, we want him to come riding on a horse? Let's go and have a look. So only that you rode on your steeds with your chariots of salvation comes to 1991, and 1991 is actually the number of years this year, if we're going on the opinion as what's put forward with Sir Isaac Newton, that Yeshua was crucified in AD 33, then we are in the 1991st year since then. Okay, as of Pesach this year, it will be 1992. So we are well into the 1991st year, and it will run to a maximum of 2,000 years. Okay, so we're very close to the end times. Okay, so we are definitely, just wait a minute, let me just double check that, minus 2022 minus 22 minus 1991. Okay, I made a slight error there. There were two dates that possibly, according to astronomical calculations, that could have coincided with the date of his crucifixion. One was AD 30, one was AD 33. If we go by the AD 30, which was, by the way, Isaac Newton's most favoured dates, if we go with AD 30, then we're in the 1991st, and as of Pesach it will be 1992nd. Okay, so anyway, it's all interesting stuff, especially when we get down to this number here, which we will do eventually. So only that you rode on your steeds with your chariots of salvation, 1991 regular, 308 ordinally. Together they come to 2,299. We're going to see over at a verse that. We're going to have a look at a whole other page based on this number here, and we also have got some connection with that to this number here as well. So when we see over, we'll be looking at both those two numbers together. It's got a Mispar Gadol, big number in, of 2,951, based on the fact that we've got a couple of Sophite letters which change form when they're at the end of the word, and also change numbers. So we've got what's called Mispar Gadol numbers. So we're going to be looking at both those numbers. Together they add up, the regular Mispar Gadol and the ordinal Mispar Gadol, to 3,283, which is 7 times 469. So we're going to be having a look at that number as well. Let's go carry on. So straight away we've got a massive connection to the concept of Mashiach ben David, because Mashiach ben David filled each letter as it sounds, Mem Shin Yud Chet, Bet Nun for Ben, and David, when David includes the extra Yud, which is, there's two ways in the Torah, in the Tanakh, how David is spelt. Predominantly, it's just Daleth, Waw, Daleth, or Dalet, Vav, Dalet. Okay, whereas many times throughout the Tanakh, it's spelt with an additional Yud, Dawid. Okay, so Daleth, Vav, Yud, Daleth. So when it's spelt rectified with additional Yud, it comes to 2,297, okay, plus 308 ordinally. So we can see only that you rode on your steeds with your chariots of salvation. We can see absolutely just from this how it's powerfully connected to a concept, the concept of Mashiach ben David, when David is rectified. Okay, so it's a wonderful, wonderful connection. And then we're going to have a look and see how this connects us back to the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. Very, very powerful stuff. Okay, so right away we know that we've seen that the Zohar points us to this particular verse, and right away we know when he's talking about Mashiach ben David coming on a horse accompanied with all the secrets of Torah. This is when we have the revelation of Mashiach ben David, and through Mashiach ben David that final sovereignty and authority and oneness of Yod-Heh-Waw is revealed, and his kingdom, his Malkuth, his queen, is set up on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, and we're all rectified to be able to receive this glory. 308. Okay, Yeshua filled with the nun missing a vav. So this is again filled as it sounds, but this is a double filling. So this is to the first filling, this is to the second filling, Yeshua. So we've got Yod, Vav, Daleth, that's Yod. Shin, Yod, Nun, that's the letter Shin filled to the second filling. Vav, Aleph, Vav, and Ayin, Yod, Nun. So when I say the nun is missing a vav, it's missing a vav here. And we will come across a word that links to this, that is connected to a defective spelling of the luminaries in the Torah, which indicates that the Torah, as we've got it, the what we're talking about, the treaty of the knowledge of good and evil, the revealed aspect of the Torah is defective. It doesn't clearly reveal the concept of the Mashiach, and certainly not the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. This is very hidden. You've got to delve into the secret levels of the Torah in order to reveal that hidden truth, that hidden vav, in order to be able to interpret the entire 6 days of creation, which is synonymous with the letter vav, which is the 6th letter of the Aleph Bet, in order to correctly interpret everything that's going on, so that it reveals the glory of the name Yod-Heh-Waw in his utter perfection and authority. We need to go beyond the literal interpretation of the Torah into the depths and into the secrets, into what's hidden. Okay, into the hidden realm. And so the luminaries, which are synonymous with the concept of the Mashiach ben Yosef is the sun, Mashiach ben David is the moon. This is not fully revealed to us. And when I fill out Yeshua, I've got obviously the fillings out missing the vav, missing the vav, and then including the letter vav. As we can see here, okay, there's a connection. Even the fact that these luminaries are spelt defective in the Torah, and even the fact that the Torah itself, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is the literal aspect of the Torah, it doesn't completely reveal that truth that's symbolized by the letter Vav. It hides it. It's for us to figure out. It's for us to reveal that truth. Okay, and that's our work that we've got to do. And our revealing that hidden truth is what helps perfect and rectify us and bring us to that place where we're able to, we've done 6 days of work to reveal that letter Vav that is missing and defected from the luminaries, that is synonymous with the concept of Mashiach, that then goes on and reveals the absolute glory of the name Yod-Heh-Waw. Okay, it's all connected. It's all utterly and absolutely glorious. Okay. And this is connected, this number here, 1334, is connected to the Mispah Gadol spellings of the entire book of the Torah. Okay, I think I'll just go and show you how. Okay, so that you know that I'm not just talking. This number here is also connected to the 5 books of Torah, the Mispah Gadol of the 5 books of Torah, and other things beside the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. I'll just go show you because it's interesting. Okay, I wasn't planning on going through this, but anyway, this is a teaching that I put together. I haven't ever done a video of it, so I might as well speak of it now. Guard the matzo. This is some research that I've been doing regarding the concept of spring and aviv. Okay, so this is the verse from Exodus 12:17. And you shall watch over the unleavened cakes. On this very day I have taken your legions out of the land of Egypt, and you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an everlasting statute. Okay, so this is phenomenal, really. I didn't even realise that it linked up to this. I'm just seeing this myself and making the connections through that one number that I showed you. But if we go to this, and you shall watch over the unleavened cakes, comes to a regular of 1,928 plus 182, which is 2,110. Okay, daughters of Yerushalayim also comes to, the square ordinal of that comes to 2,110. This comes up in this teaching as well, daughters of Yerushalayim. Trying to figure out which number, but anyway, we'll get to it. However, if you add up, let me just have a look at this. Okay, so this is the regular and this is the ordinal. Okay, this is the mispagdol and this is the ordinal mispagdol. If we add these two numbers up, the regular and the mispagdol regular, it comes to 2,668, which is 2 times 1,334, the number that we've just been looking at. Okay, which is Yeshua spelt out. We will come across that in this one. We're talking about truth. So we've got 3 ways to spell truth. We've got emeth, truth, and emeth, and the truth. And truth, as in the 13 attributes of mercy. Chesed wa emeth, kindness and truth. Ha-emeth, the truth. Okay, so if we look at this number down here, if we take the regular of truth, the regular of untruth, and the regular of the truth, and add them up, come to 1,334. So we know we've got to look for the truth, and the truth is symbolic, is symbolized by the letter Vav. Why? Because the Vav times itself, fully included. It's the letter Vav, it's the 6th letter of the alphabet. So 6 times 6 comes to 36, and as we can see, the ordinal of truth is also 36. Okay, so there's a powerful connection between the concept of truth and the concept of the letter Vav. And also Yaakov is symbolized by the letter Vav. It says, give truth to Yaakov. That's one of the 13 attributes of mercy as revealed in the book of Micah. Okay, so we've got that number here as well, 1,334. Because man is a tree of the field, comes to 667. 2 times 667 is 1,334. And this is the whole concept of, the Torah that we'll learn through the experience of our life. Hopefully we've planted in the field of the Holy Shekinah and we're learning things in a holy way that sometimes in exile we're like planted in the field, and the field is equivalent to Esav. Esav is synonymous with the field. Yaakov was, he dwelt in the tent, and Esav was hunting in the field. So the field is very much associated with Yaakov. We've got to root ourselves in the field of the Holy Shekinah. And try and experience our life in holy ways. But in exile, we're sort of like cast out into the field of Esav, just as Yosef was sent out in the fields in order to find his brothers. He was sent out by Yaakov into the field, and there was a danger in that involved in sending him out into the field, and he succumbed to that danger. Okay, in the field, and as most of us do, we learn the hard way basically, but we ultimately still learn Torah. These are the 5 books of Torah: Bereshit, Shemoth, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Devarim. So they come to a regular and ordinal of 3,335, which is 5 times 667. So we can see that's linked to all these are 5 books of Torah, and that goes back again to the revelation of Yeshua. So which we've just been looking at. 1,334 is Yeshua when that nun is missing. Okay, so that's showing us that the concept of the luminaries found within, the concept of Mashiach found within the 5 books of Torah are not enough from the literal sense. We will still be defective in terms of a revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef. We have to dive into the hidden realm of the Torah in order to find that missing truth. Okay, and this is why it's so incredible that is, and this is I'm just speaking now. I did not plan to put this slide up, and this is analysis that we're doing about something else. But it says in Psalms that truth sprouts from the ground, and the reason why I was doing this all to do with this spring, and obviously this is the Gad the Matzos, is to do with the Pesach. Which is to do with the spring, the Aviv. So I'd been looking at the Aviv. You can go down some of the recent teachings that I've been doing are all about spring and things like that. So you got 2 basic grain cycles. You've got the barley cycle, and this barley cycle really is related to the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. And then you've got the wheat cycle, which is related to the concept of Mashiach ben Dawid, because, it's at Shavuot when King David was born, and the wave loaves are waved at Shavuot, whilst Pesach is associated very much with Mashiach ben Yosef, and at Pesach, we've got the Omer, the Omer sheaf is waved, and the Omer is barley. Okay, and the Aviv is the month of Aviv is determined by the barley. So we've got this concept of the truth springing from the ground. The truth grows from the ground. That's according to the Tehillim. Truth sprouts from the ground. And if you were to perceive completely the secrets hidden in just the cycle of the barley and just the cycle of the wheat alone, even the physical growth and process, the growth process of the barley, and how that's related to the wheat harvest, and how that is then revealed within the Torah, and the things that we have got to do regarding the barley, like the whole concept of the new moon and the beginning of the counting of the months of the year, and how that then leads on and is connected to all the festivals. The truth that is connected even to the barley that grows from the ground. Literally, you can perceive the concept of the Mashiach through just the barley and through the wheat. And unite those 2 together, and all that they reveal in the Torah, and that alone is enough to reveal the concept of the Mashiach. There's so much hidden truth in the simple processes. I can't go into detail now, but you got to maybe look at some of the teachings that I've done on spring before. Just what sprouts from the ground in terms of the wheat and in terms of the barley, the cycles and the process, and in the entire process of nature involved with that, and the ripening of the grain and the different processes and what those different processes signify. It's basically the truth that's even sprouts from the ground in just the barley and the wheat is enough to reveal the entire glory of the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. It is enough. And what happens at Shavuot? We receive the 5 books of Torah. We receive the Torah, so that's part of the wheat cycle, isn't it? But the wheat cycle doesn't come. The first cycle is the barley cycle. So in order to fully understand the whole giving of the Torah, you've first got to go through that process of revelation that's involved with the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef that is connected to the barley cycle and the Pesach, and like what we've got here, the guardian of the Matzos, the new moon, the cycle of the whole year. Everything is all linked. Basically, in like I say, if you were just to look at that alone, it is enough to reveal the glory of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh and what he has been doing. We have been in a preparation, and through that process of the barley, and barley's considered animal fodder, by the way, but I suppose this is likened to our inner donkey, which is likened to our Esav. We've first got to overcome that you know, like through the getting rid of the leaven and things like that. There's all kinds of connections. I can't go through it in this lesson, but there's all wonderful teachings and secrets that can just be revealed through the literally it sprouts from the ground. The truth literally sprouts from the ground with the barley cycle and the wheat cycle. And it's difficult for me to express that just at this point, but there's so much that's revealed regarding the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. And just to put this under the sun, 1453 is connected up to the truth, because Metatron is the river that splits into four heads. Metatron is opposite the verse nothing new under the sun. Basically is opposite the truth. The truth about the concept as revealed through the barley cycle and the wheat cycle. The truth regarding Moshiach ben Yosef that then leads on to Moshiach ben David is if we don't have that truth, we've got Metatron there instead. If we don't have that truth, if we don't seek out that truth that's revealed in the barley cycle, the spring cycle, the new moon, the Pesach, the Shavuot, and the concept of Mashiach as revealed in the Torah, the 5 books of Torah, the secrets, we will have Metatron there instead. Okay, just to point out that Metatron, I've talked about this a lot, but basically Metatron's there when Mashiach, the concept of Mashiach is not. This is really our exilic mindset. This is our immature mindset. Metatron is known as the youth, and he's also like the guardian that guards over us until we are mature enough to be in the presence of the King over kings of kings. You know, until we have, revealed that truth regarding the concept of Mashiach, and we can come out from under this guardianship, who's the slave who rules, and his wife is the Mishnah, which is what we've talked about in this particular Zohar that we looked at, which is the literal interpretation of the Torah, the revealed Torah. So this is the guardian until we are mature enough to delve into the true secrets to reveal the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, the whole concept of Mashiach, in fact. And then, through that we are mature enough to be in the presence of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh himself. We're no longer under that like Metatronic consciousness. We're elevated to Messianic consciousness. And once we're elevated to that level, we become like sons and daughters of the King. Like daughters of Jerusalem, daughters of the King. Okay. The sea saw and fled. So this is very much related to the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, because the sages say, what did the sea see and flee from? They saw the coffin of Yosef, which is synonymous with the deeds of Yosef, which is in terms of Mashiach is synonymous with the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef, what he's been accomplished in this last 2,000 years of exile, or almost 2,000 years that he's been exiled. Okay, and we can see that the deeds of Yosef, the deeds that are so powerful, that cause the sea to split and enable us to go out from exile into redemption, we can see this is also connected to all this Yeshua, the books of Torah. It's reaching that place of maturity, isn't it? Our whole experience in life. And the truth revealed, elevated ourselves up to the level of the daughters of Jerusalem, daughters of the King, etc. It's all glorious. Okay, so I have obviously done other there's more that I could go on with that concept, but let's go back to what we're looking at today. So we've just gone and had a look at that number, haven't we? And we've just seen the absolute significance there, all related to the garden of the Matzos. But here we see the ordinal, which is the regular is associated with Mashiach ben David. The ordinal is associated with Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay. Right, we've also got Korach. Korach is the ultimate rebellion against the concept of Mashiach. He rebelled against Moshe. He rebelled against the whole concept of the Mashiach, of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. I've talked about that in my teachings of Korach. Okay, he rebelled against Korach. He rebelled against Moshe, but eventually he submitted. Okay, and this is connected to the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, this number 355, because it's the 3 nouns used to describe the luminary. The luminary that is big, sorry, it's the way that the luminary is described, sorry, in the Torah, they're not all nouns. It's the luminary that is big in the day. If you add the luminary that is big in the day together, it comes to 355, and the luminary that is big in the day refers to the sun, which refers to Moshiach ben Yosef. 47 is the ordinal of Yaakov. Okay, so we've talked about give truth to Yaakov. So these are the holy, he's really against the whole concept of Mashiach, the truth, Mashiach ben Yosef, and obviously Moshe, who's the umbrella term for the Mashiach. And like I said, I've done teachings about that before, so I'm not going to go into too many details now. Okay, so here we go. This is the connection, isn't it? To the whole concept of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the literal interpretation of the Torah, which is not sufficient enough to reveal the truth that's hidden therein, the truth regarding Mashiach, the concept of Mashiach, specifically the Mashiach ben Yosef. So we've got this here connected up to here. Okay, but you don't have one without the other. You don't get to the wheat harvest and Shavuot, the receiving of the Torah, and the revealing of Mashiach ben David without the barley harvest first. You don't get to Shavuot without first having Pesach and eating the matzos. You don't get to Mashiach ben David without first understanding Mashiach ben Yosef. You don't get to the tree of life without first eating of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. One precedes the other. You don't have the rose without the thorns. So it's a process of maturation. You don't have Moshiach without Metatron. So it's what's called I call it the necessary evil. You don't get to a place where you're able to perceive all good without first having to wrestle against the idea that there's a possible evil. So we've got to go through that process. We've got to literally, it's a process involved, and even the process of battling with all the forces of evil in order to reveal that ultimate good is part of the good itself, because that's part of the work that we've got to reveal the truth that reveals the Mashiach, that reveals the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. And when we receive that Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh desires for us to receive, we've actually earned it. We've battled with the forces of good and evil. And the consequences that are as a result of that are very, very hard for us to bear in this state of exile, where our soul is exiled into a body, and it suffers every knock of exilic reality. But like I say, you don't get one without the other. This is a school of hard knocks. We are literally planted in the field. And just as Yaakov sent Yosef into the field in order to check on his brothers, we have been sent out. But ultimately, even though Yosef had to pass through all that he had to pass through, he even uttered, it's for an ultimate salvation. It's for an ultimate salvation. Okay, it's for an ultimate salvation. It's to reveal that salvation of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. And what is the salvation of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh? It's the Mashiach. That reveals that Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh is our Saviour ultimately. Okay, so that's connected up to this tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There is not one without the other. Before we enter into the status of sons and daughters of the King, we have to go through the stages of guardianship, and then before we mature, we've got to go through all the immature states. Before the barley ripens, it's got to go through a process of 5 stages, and then after that, there's the wheat harvest. So it's all about a process of maturation. Okay. Torah, this is Torah spelt out. Tav, Vav, Resh, He comes to 938. So Torah itself, tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, but without that, this is the Torah as is revealed, the literal interpretation. It's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The next level up from that is the tree of life. Okay, Etz Chaim. And we can see even here, even through this is the regular, the ordinal, which is exactly the same as the ordinal of Yeshua. Okay, added together come to 634, which I haven't actually pointed that out, but I've just seen that's double that, isn't it? So even that number there, the Torah, is 2 times this here, isn't it? I've not even made that connection. I've just seen the number now. So 333 times 2 is 664. So there's that connection there. The square ordinal, 945. So each letter squared according to its position in the alphabet. So for Tav it's 484, 36, 400 and then 25. Add them all together, they obviously come to 945. So if we add that number and that number together, we've got this number here, 201,670, which is 430, which is Malkuth. Pretty sure 430 is Malkuth. It's certainly shekel anyway, times 469. So we can see that that is a multiple of all these that we're talking about. The Torah, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, but it leads us on to this place, this exalted place. And there's a double connection there, like I've just pointed out. There's a double connection there. So obviously the Torah, it's all about the Torah, isn't it? The Torah itself, the secrets hidden within the Torah ultimately lead us to that revelation, this salvation that we're talking about here, that connects us to the king and the queen riding on the horse rather than on the humble donkey, with all the treasures and in the true elevated status that they should be revealed to us. Okay, I'm pretty sure 430 is Malkuth kingdom. Just let me figure that one out. No, it's not. I've got that muddled up. It's shekel, which I've talked about the whole concept of shekel before. Shekel is the initial letters of Chetz, Shem, Lechoshech. He sets an end to darkness. And it's also, this number here, 430 is 10 times 43, and 43 is Esav, which is the donkey. So when the donkey is fully rectified, when we've transformed all this experience, all this physicality, all this evil inclination, all the outer Esav, from a state of chaos into shalom, then that is what, and it's only the truth that is able to do that, bring peace between Israel and the nations, bring peace between physicality and spirituality. I've talked about that a lot. So Esav is 10 times 43. So 430 is 10 times Esav. 43 is Esav, the ordinal of Esav. So there's a connection there. And also to shekel. We've literally got to redeem the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef. He was sold into slavery. Just as Yosef was sold, Yeshua was sold. And there needs to be a pidyon nefesh, a redeeming back, or a pidyon ben, redeeming back of the son. Because he's basically been sold to Esav. You know, he's basically been given over to the to Rome, and he needs buying back. He's not Roman, he's not an Edomite, he's a Hebrew. Okay, so that's part of the process, and we've got to be able to perceive that reality and truth. We've got to divest the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef from the place into which he's been exiled, which is into Greco-Roman mindset and into Rome. We've got to redeem him back from that place. And there are literally priests, Kohanim, in this world that are doing that are trying to arrange for a true Torah-based pidyon haben, or a pidyon nefesh, to occur, to bring back the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef from the place with which from the place he was sold to, the forces of evil that he was sold to literally buy him back. Okay, daughters of Yerushalayim, which we've just come across, haven't we? In the analysis that we were just doing, there is an aspect to that comes to 1,300. We just looked at it anyway, haven't we? But not Yerushalayim. If we take this number here, which is the regular and the ordinal, and that ordinal there is the ordinal and regular of Kiseh Dawid, 136, very important number. Kiseh Dawid, the throne of David. The throne of David is Mashiach ben Yosef, according to Vilna Gaon. Okay, 147 is the years of Yaakov, and Yaakov represents the truth. So again, we've got connections here. But if we take this number here, which is the regular and the ordinal, plus the mixed Gadol regular and the ordinal, add them both together, comes to 2,951, which is back up here again. We've got to be elevated up to our true status as daughters of Yerushalayim, sons and daughters of the King. and in the king's household and in the king's holy place where he chooses to place his name, which is Jerusalem. Okay, and then we've got this concept which is wonderful. If we look up here, the ordinal of this entire verse is 653, which is exactly the same as the luminaries rectified. Okay, so we're going to go and have a look in a minute at this where we see it defective in the Torah, and I'm talking about like here I've not put, it's got a missing vav. It's the spelling of the luminaries in the Torah has got a missing vav. But when it's rectified, it comes to 653. So we know that this verse is somehow related to that rectified luminaries. What are the luminaries? The luminaries are synonymous with the Mashiach. And how do we know that? The ordinal of the rectified luminaries comes to David, the square ordinal of David. So 16, 36 and 16 comes to 68. The square ordinal of Yaakov is 721. Okay, Yaakov represents the truth. So together, you've got a massive messianic connection here, and also to this verse, which the Zohar is indicating this is a highly significant messianic verse. And we can see that. Let's go and have a look at some of these verses that we've just been looking at here. Not that one. Okay, before I do that, let's just point this one out. This last one out is the nun filled. Here we've got the nun diminished, but the filled nun, the mispar gadol, the filled nun, when the nun is equal to 700, comes to 756, which is the ordinal of this verse. Okay, so we know that this is connected to the luminaries rectified, and we also know that that's connected to the nun fully, including the vav. And I've done all the fillings out, the filling out of Moshiach, the filling out of Yaakov, the filling out of all the names that I've filled out. I've done them both ways, including the vav and not including the vav. And that is also the square ordinal of da'ath, which da'ath means knowledge, holy knowledge, as in the entire world will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh as the waters cover the sea. I think that's how you say it. I'm just saying it from memory now, but probably got that tangled up somewhere. 756, we're trying to restore our knowledge. The knowledge, da'ath, is the realm of Mashiach. It's Moshe is the supernal da'ath, if you like, and Moshe is the concept of the Mashiach. It's through da'ath that we perceive the unity between the male and the female, and between wisdom and understanding. We're able to perceive Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh fully restored. And if we haven't got the concept of Mashiach there, at this level we'll have the serpent, as in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We'll have knowledge of good and evil if we don't have knowledge of the Mashiach. And I've done teachings about that concept as well. I think that's within the I've done one and it's got a picture of the Pharaoh on the front with like the serpent in front of his head. If we don't have the concept of Mashiach there, we will have something there instead. And what we will have there instead? A lie, a false Mashiach, which is synonymous with the serpent. Okay, so we've got to restore our holy knowledge. Our knowledge of what? Our knowledge of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, which is a tree of life. Okay, without that at the forefront of our minds, we will have we'll have a serpent, and we won't be able to tell. This will be good, that'll be evil. We'll always live with that duality. We won't live with that oneness of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh before us always. Okay, so this is what we want to really restore. And as you can see, this is linked up to this verse as well. So there's very, very powerful connections here. Let's go and have a look at some of the verses that are connected with this number here, 308. So straight away we've got a powerful messianic verse here. The spider grasps with her hands and she is in the king's palaces. So this is referring to Srach Bat Asher, because this is Srach filled out to the second filling, comes to 2,230 plus 303 ordinally, and then we can see that that is exactly the same as the regular and ordinal of this verse. Okay, but the 308 is related to the statement that we've just been looking at. And also this 331 is Ephraim. So Mashiach ben Yosef is also called Mashiach ben Ephraim. That's one of his appellations. And we know Sarah bat Asher, she's the one who found the bones of Yosef with Moses. And she's also the one that told Yaakov, "Oh, Yosef Chai, Yosef is still alive." So I've talked about her so many times. She's an absolutely critical messianic figure in revealing the truth regarding Mashiach ben Yosef. Then we've got this. This goes back to... this is right. I'll just have to go back and show you. So here, up here, the Mispah Gadol. The Mispah Gadol is 8,496 plus 756 ordinally, which we've already looked at. Add them together, it comes to maybe not. Okay, so I've corrected this because I had actually made a mistake. I'd put 8252 instead. So it's actually 12 times 771, and I just came across this number yesterday. I've come across it before previously, but I was listening to this brilliant Torah teaching that we're talking about Amalek. I'm very interested in the exilic forces that prevent us from accessing those deep hidden treasures. You know, we've got to do battle against these deceptive forces of the serpent in order to reveal the truth. Okay, so this number I came across yesterday because I've been watching this teaching that mentioned about the 4 rivers that came out of Eden and specifically the exiles that each of the rivers are associated. Now, the river that came out of Eden is Metatron. Okay, this is the secret language. Okay, you don't get this exposed in the Torah. These are the secret code names, if you like, for it. But basically, this is the exilic mindsets, isn't it? We've got to get to a place where we are back in the Garden of Eden, eating off the tree of life. We don't have access to that at the moment, so we've got to find our way back. We've got to wrestle with all the forces of exile in order to reveal the truth that's hidden therein. So this is incredible to me, by the way, even though I made a mistake, thankfully I figured it out. Nes Gadol Hayasham, great miracle happened there. So this is what happens, this is what is written on these are the letters that are written on the dreidel, which is played at Hanukkah. It's all mysteriously pointing to the Mashiach. Why? Because Nes Gadol Hayasham is the exact gematria of Mashiach, 358. But it means Nes Gadol Hayasham, a great miracle that happened there, and this is how it's spelt, and that comes to 513. This is the dreidel that's played in exile. Okay, when we get back into the land of Israel, we play this dreidel, Nes Gadol Hayapo, a great miracle happened here. Okay, that should be po, not sham. Nes Gadol Hayapo, a great miracle happened here. It's not there. It is written different. Po. I've just not corrected it. So if we add this Nes Gadol Hayasham and Nes Gadol Hayapo together, it comes to 771. And there's loads of messianic revelation within the dreidel. The dreidel, everything about Hanukkah, everything about the dreidel is pointing to a revelation of Mashiach. For the exact same reason I said, these initial letters spell Moshiach, the same gematria as Mashiach, sorry. It's all very, very interesting stuff. And it also, the Bnei Israel, when they did go into exile, they went to a place called Goshna. Sorry, they went to Goshen. But when it mentions in the Torah that they went towards Goshen, that word's towards Goshen, the way that you say towards a certain place is Goshna. Towards Goshen is Goshna, and that is the exact same letters there. Goshna, rearranged. Okay, so that's very interesting. I think there might be one other thing. All right, this is the river. This is the river, the first river that comes out. The river that comes out of Eden, then it splits into 4 heads. This is the first head, and it symbolises the exile into Babylon. Okay, so this is one of the forces. And as you can see here, this here, 446, is exactly the same as We'emeth, and truth, we'ermeth. So we are wanting to reveal the truth, and this is the unholy opposite that stands in our way. Because this we'ermeth is one of the 13 attributes of mercy, and that's what is the 13 attributes of mercy are a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, who is the ultimate truth, and is the ultimate revelation that we're wanting to receive. So if we add up the Mispah Gadol and the regular together, they come to 1,542, which is 2 times 771, connected to that and connected back to that. So I hope you can understand, and we've got to overcome these forces. We've got to overcome all these exilic mindsets that keep us in a state of metatronic consciousness, where we have got the guardian over us, preventing us to have direct access to the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, the king in his palace. We've got something there instead. So let's go and have a look at these verses then. So I've included that one now. This is a verse that's related to that. Okay, and more than they, my son, beware, making many books as no end, and studying much is a weariness of the flesh. And this is what it's like when you're chomping on the wheat of Torah all the time. It's okay, so it's necessary. In order to access the secrets, you've got to understand the literal, basic realm of the Torah, level of the Torah. So you have to go through that process. It's like a necessary evil, if you like, but without it you don't get to the place of maturity. Without these immature states there is no maturity. Without exile there is no redemption. So but you can be endlessly ploughing through, and the number of books that have been produced, like within Judaism or even within Christianity, there's no end to it. You can read and read and read without end, but until you plumb the depths, until you start to reveal that truth that's hidden within that light of Mashiach ben Yosef, it's very wearying of the flesh. So we've got to get to that stage where we're energized by our Torah study. So obviously this is connected up to that we're talking about. It's the holy opposite, isn't it? To reveal the truth about Mashiach, the hidden secrets, and the truth regarding the concept of Mashiach that reveals the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh is wholly opposite this. This weariness that we get from trawling through all this literature, looking for what? Looking for some kind of reward when we die. This is the mentality, some reward when we die that we'll just sit for eternity learning more Torah. No, this is not good. This is wearying of the flesh. We need to get to the place where we're revealing the truth. There's Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, nothing else beside him. Okay, the truth and entering into messianic consciousness, not just studying books for the sake of studying books, or studying books for the sake of somehow gaining some reward when you die. We want him to reveal the kingdom of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh on earth as it is in heaven. We can only do that once we overcome that metatronic state of consciousness and enter into messianic states of consciousness, because we've been empowered with the truth regarding the concept of Mashiach. Okay. Hopefully this is going to take me back. What we're going to look at now. So we're going to have a look at this number here. Only that you rode on your steeds with your chariots of salvation. Okay, so let's go and have a look at this. This is very interesting. This is really a call to us it's a coded message that Yeshua gave to his disciples when they hauled out the 153 fishes from the dragnet after he'd already ascended into heaven and then descended, and he was on his way into exile, into Edomite exile. I've talked about this a lot. And he gave him a coded message like, I'm going down into Asaph now. I've ascended into heaven and descended. And this links us up to Proverbs 34, talked about this lot. He gave them the 153 fishes from the dragnet. This was a sign, okay? And the 153 in Hebrew is written Kof Nun Gimel. The only place in Tanakh in order where I can find Kof Nun Gimel is here, Korona Gam. I've talked about this all a lot, and it can be interpreted like koronogam, call out now also. Call out now also. And basically what this is telling us is that the rabbis have pointed out that this is corona, is like the coronavirus, corona. And really it's a coded message saying, you know, when that coronavirus hits, call out now, i.e. now's my time to be coming out. I need redeeming from Asaph now. The initial letters of who has ascended into heaven and descended, which the regular of that comes to 765, which is 5 times 153. The ordinal comes to 153. Okay, so it's definitely pointing to, look, it's the Mashiach that ascended into heaven and descended, i.e. Yeshua ascended into heaven and then descended into Edomite exile. Moshe ascended into heaven to get the Torah, descended into Erev Rav exile. Both need uniting and redeeming from exile. Okay, and this is the code. When the coronavirus hits, now time to bring the Mashiach out from hiding in this exile. Now to reveal the Mashiach. The coronavirus is the time where we now call out to reveal the depth of truth. So that's obviously related to this 469. And plus, this whole verse comes to 4,439, which is 23 times 193. 2 times 193 is 386, which is Yeshua. This is the verse. Let's just go back so we can see. I told you about the luminaries. This is how it's spelt, rectified with 2 additional vavs. A truth regarding Mashiach ben Yosef, truth regarding Mashiach ben Dawid. Okay? And obviously that Yosef is represented by Yaakov there. We've got to give the truth to Yaakov. What truth? Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. Mashiach ben Yosef is still alive. Okay, so we can see the rectified luminaries are really David with Yaakov empowered with the truth. David stands for the final hay of the letter, the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Yaakov stands for the Vav. They two need uniting permanently together as one. And what unites them together? The truth, Od Yosef Chai. So let's go back. So we've got this verse here, and God said, let there be luminaries in the expanse of the heavens to separate between the day and between the night, and they shall be for signs and for appointed seasons and for days and years. Okay. That Rekiah, by the way, is 100%, it's a revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef. I've done a teaching about that, but I haven't gone through it yet. Ma'oroth, we can see it's defective. There's no vavs in it. It shouldn't be spelt like that. It should be spelt with the 2 vavs. So that's where it's defective. What else have we got? Right, let's go back. So we've got here the verse in Habakkuk. The regular comes to 3,776, and I've put C over. It's got 2 verses now that come to 376. Look at this. Now Yosef could not bear. So we know that this verse that the Zohar points to us, talking about when the Mashiach will come riding on a horse and revealing the glory of the king and the queen. Now Yosef could not bear all those standing beside him, and he called out, take everyone away from me. And no one stood with him when Yosef made himself known to his brothers. And 913 is Reshith, the beginnings. Okay, so Bereshith, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, so this is associated with what did Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh create? He created it on account of these beginnings, and we can see that this is one of those beginnings. You know, Yosef is the firstborn. Okay, classed as like a firstborn. So 911 there is associated with that. But very powerful verse connected to the revelation of Yosef, the revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef to his brothers. And that's the beginning. That's the whole beginning of creation, the beginning and the end of creation. To finally reveal the Mashiach ben Yosef, you know, and all the glory of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, that accompanies that revelation. And then we've got this, which again is synonymous with the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef descending into exile with us. Without the exile, there's no redemption. Okay, so without him descending into the belly of the grave, there is no resurrection from the dead. Okay, and he said, I called out from my distress to Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, and he answered me from the belly of the grave. I cried out, you heard my voice. Yonah is the only sign that Moshiach ben Yosef gave a wicked and adulterous generation, which is us. Okay, he gave this sign. It's absolutely woven into every single messianic concept within the Torah. It's the Yonah is the power that reveals the truth regarding Moshiach ben Yosef or Yosef Chai. It's every single thing to do with the story of Yonah, and even numerically and everything is definitely connected to the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, and that's what reveals the secret. This is the power of prophecy that reveals the secrets regarding Mashiach ben Yosef. The power of prophecy that reveals the secrets about Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben David is Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, and those two unite together. Okay, to reveal the truth about the concept of Mashiach that ultimately reveals the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. And then we've got this, I don't think that's, it's not relevant anymore, is it? Because we didn't, we came to another, let me just have a look. Okay, right, so I've got myself a little bit jumbled up. This number here, 2,299, where I've put C over, okay, let's go and have a look. Is equivalent to this. It's Moshe and Aaron among his priests, and Shmuel among those who call in his name. Okay, so we're talking about a revelation of his name. Would call out to Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, and he would answer them. And here we've got the king. The Moshe is the king, equivalent to the king. Is the Moshiach. And Aaron is the priest, and then you've got the prophet, haven't you, Shmuel, and this will be the prophet that ushers in Mashiach ben David. Okay, so the 2,299 are connected to that. Let's just go back and check. Yeah, here, only that you rode on your steeds with your chariots of salvation. So we know how important this is in revealing the concept of Mashiach, right? And then I've put here the 1,991 is 11 times 181. This is absolutely fantastic. Let's go see over with that. So again, we've got a concept of Yosef. And the bones of Yosef, which the children of Israel had brought up out of Egypt, they buried in Shechem in a parcel of ground which Yaakov bought from the sons of Hamor. And I said I'd point that out because Hamor is donkey, as in the Mashiach rides upon a donkey. So, and the father of Shechem, the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of money, and they became the inheritance of the children of Yosef. Okay, so that's taken from Joshua 24:32. So this is related to what we've been looking at. We've got here, look, and the bones of Yosef with the Yosef, which the children of Israel had brought up, comes to these numbers here. This is a Mispah Gadol. The 332 is related to what we're going to be looking at, but it's the next one to bring up here. Look, this is related to this 332 here. From here, only that you rode on your steeds with your chariots of salvation. So we're looking at this number because this number comes up now, but also we're looking at this number as well. And I did point out we would be looking at the two numbers together. So this is very significant. The 181 is very significant, and this number is extremely significant. They all are. It's utter glory. It's utter glorious revelation about the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. So we've got this concept, Yavan. Yavan is one of the other rivers. One of the other rivers that came out of when the river that came out of Eden split into four. different heads. One of the other heads of the river, we've just had a look at Babylon, but one of the others was Yavan, okay, which is Greece. And this is all about assimilation. The Greeks, and going back to the it's all about the mentality of assimilating to the exilic forces. And obviously the Jews have been tested with this, to assimilate into the exile into which you've been exiled, to exile into to assimilate into like Edomite mentality, Babylonian mentality, Greek mentality, and Persian mentality, and things like that. We've got to resist the temptation to assimilate, and that power that we've got to resist assimilation is the Torah. Okay, the power that helps us to resist the temptation to assimilate is the Torah. Okay, but there's also another assimilation that is expected of us, especially when with the lost house of Israel, the lost house of Yosef. We are somehow expected to abandon the truth regarding Moshiach ben Yosef. If we want to join our Jewish brothers and sisters at this time, this is a situation in exile, we've got to abandon our faith and revelation in the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh that we received above the letter of the Torah, that ultimately reveals the glory of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. We are expected to abandon that and assimilate into Erev Rav Judaism. The Judaism at this time is dominated by Erev Rav, but so we've got to leave our Edomite Greco-Roman mindset behind, but then we've got to somehow assimilate to this Erev Rav dominated Judaism that is before us at this time. We have not got to do that. To do that, we will totally and utterly miss the point. We will miss the mark. It is not Torah for us to do that and to abandon the name that has been revealed to us above the letter of the law. We have got to be steadfast, okay, and not assimilate to the forces of error of wrath that would demand, that don't recognise that Yosef Chai, Yosef is still alive. They do not recognise the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh revealed above the letter of the Torah. They do not recognise the lost of the house of Israel. They do not recognise Mashiach as Yeshua as Mashiach. So why can we possibly assimilate to that? We can't. Okay, but there is a massive, when we are of the lost house of Israel and we're coming towards Judaism, there's a massive temptation to assimilate to Erev Rav, and Yavan is the power of assimilation. Okay, just because we're currently exiled and we're not quite here, home in Israel, we are not quite we're not quite unified as the entire of the tribes of Israel in the entire of the land of Israel, does not mean to say that we have to assimilate to lies, we are, lies like we some have to convert to their version of Torah, which is in exile, and we have to submit ourselves to their authority when Yosef bows to no one. So there's all kinds of things that we've got to be very aware of when we represent the truth. Fair enough, we need to unite with our Jewish brothers and sisters, but we don't need to assimilate to Erev Rav. They need to recognise who we are. We need to be able to be in a place where we are able to reveal ourselves, and that ultimately is, we are not interested in, I am from the house of Yosef. I'm not interested in going to my brothers and saying, look at me, I am from Yosef, accept me as the truth. Not interested in that at all. I'm interested I'm zealous for the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, and everything in my life that represents the glory of his name revealed in this world through all these exiles and through all this messianic period in which we've all suffered, and that overwhelms this entire Edomite Greco-Roman mindset and defeats all the forces of Amalek and doubt regarding the truth, O Yosef Chaim. I simply want to reveal that, because I know in my life I bear witness to the glory of his name that has occurred in truth, not garbed up in Greco-Roman Edomite filthy rags, but divested of that and revealed the truth, like what Yosef revealed. He wasn't an Egyptian, he was a Hebrew, and he finally revealed himself to his Hebrew brothers. But you got to understand, you can't go along with their version. They thought Yosef had died. They'd lived that lie. They believed that lie. They told their father that lie. But we're coming from a position, we know that's not the truth, because we represent the truth, Od Yosef Chai. We are the embodiment of the truth of Od Yosef Chai. And through that truth, Yaakov is revived. And this is what we ultimately wanted to see. We wanted to see a unity between the name Yod He Waw He, and we wanted to see his name revealed on earth as it is in heaven, and his kingdom revealed on earth as it is in heaven. So we got to stand our ground. Not because we want our brothers to accept who we are, but for our brothers to accept what we represent. A revelation of the name Yod He Waw He, a revealing of his glory throughout this entire 2,000 years of bloody Edomite history. You know, we are the remedy for that. You know, and that's why I want to see Yosef revealed, and that's why I'm not prepared to assimilate, because I can't afford to lose that. That's the truth of who I am. I represent, along with all my all the people within the lost house of Yosef. That's what we represent. We represent the name Yod He Waw He, as revealed above the letter of the Torah. And we need to join with our Jewish brothers and sisters that represent the name of Yod He Waw He within the letter of the Torah. Okay, it's all glorious and absolute perfection. The king's virgin daughters, so that's 166, which is, I think that's half of that, yes, so that's all connected. And this is, again, we want to receive this status. The king's virgin daughters, by the way, wore exactly the same garment as Yosef, and it says it in the Torah, in the Tanakh, sorry. Tamar was dressed in Ketaneth Pasim, the coat of many colours, and it says, as is what the king's virgin daughters were accustomed to be dressed in. Okay, so it was the exact same word to describe the garment that Yaakov put on Yosef. So the king's virgin daughters are very much connected to Yosef. These are the ones that reveal the truth. These are ones that somehow connected to that whole concept of Yosef in a wonderful way. The house of Elohim, Beit Elohim. Okay, so this is what Yaakov stated when he had the vision. He called it, this is none other than the house of God, the house of Elohim. 1144, so that's connected up to Yavan. So obviously, you know, when we assimilate, then we don't reveal this, do we? This is the unholy opposite that seeks to deny this, doesn't it? Everything that's associated with the revelation of the temple, the Beis HaMikdash, the house of God, and ultimately the third temple that will be a house of prayer for all nations. Everything that there's a power of evil that would seek for us to deny that. Let go of that hope. Just be like us. Just let go. But we represent the truth that builds the temple. I've talked about this before. The Shamir worm is totally and utterly synonymous with the truth. And it's like no iron implement will cut the stones, and it's this little Shamir worm that's used to cut the stones. Okay, it's all coded message. The coded message is it's the truth that builds the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Because the sword represents Esav. Okay, and we need to subdue the forces of Esav to the side of holy. Okay, but we can't go around like wielding a sword to bring Esav into a place of submission, because Esav wields a bigger sword than us. But Esav is subdued with the truth, because Esav represents delusion and lie and falsehood. And the only power that we have got to overcome the forces of Sheker, the evil inclination, the delusion, is the truth. And what truth? Od Yosef Chai. And when Esav is unable to understand the truth of the purpose for which he was created, that the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef reveals, i.e. that Esav needs to be subdued and become the very vessels of Shalom that are able to receive the revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, that is united, the revelation within the letter of the Torah with the revelation out with the letter of the Torah. And Esav is needed because the name represents light, and light needs to fill a vessel, and the only vessel that is able to fill that is a vessel of Shalom. Okay, and the vessel of Shalom, where do we get the Shalom from? Because in this world we've got a work to do. It's like, here's your vessel of Shalom, fill up with this light that I've just given you. No, we've got to fight and battle to get all the forces of exile in order to reveal the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh within the letter of the Torah, out with the letter of the Torah, and then we've got to battle all the forces that separate those two names, battle against them to bring unity between those two revelations, and then after that we've got to fill that. We've got the light. We need a vessel to put the light in, and what's the vessel? The vessel is Esav, because the light wants to give. The light is altruistic. It's synonymous with our soul. It's synonymous with Yaakov. It's the desire to give. It's the masculine aspect of divinity. We need a feminine aspect of divinity, a kingdom to fill, the kingdom of David that unites all of humanity together, and including all the nations, and that are represented by Esav, that don't have the light of this truth, but they become the vessels that fill up. And this happens at a macrocosmic level, our own body and our own soul, but also the macrocosmic level, when there literally will be King David come, and he literally will rebuild the temple. It will literally be a house of prayer for all peoples, and we will all worship Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. But we've first got to we've got to unify the light, and we've got to have a vessel to put that light in, and the vessel comes from Esav. The Esav has got a gematria 376, and Shalom has got the gematria 376, and I talk about this all the time. Esav is subdued, falsehood is subdued with the truth. What truth? Oh, Yosef Chai. And everything that is meaning, the entire revealed secrets of the Torah. Okay? And exactly what Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh has been doing in a very hidden way throughout the entire of this 6,000 years of creation. And then we get to this. So this is the 881 that's linked back up to only that you rode on the steeds with your chariots here. 1,991, which is 11 times 181. 181. So we see that this is directly related to all this, which is directly related to this. So there's all multiple levels of connection. But this is important. With the sun and before the moon. So the sun is Mashiach ben Yosef. Before the moon is Mashiach ben David. Okay, so we've already got powerful connections to the concept of the Mashiach. However, the end letters of this spell Moshiach, and it's the only place in Tanakh where this occurs, where the end letters spell Mashiach in order, in the flow of the text. So we read from right to left in Hebrew, so Mashiach spelt right way around. The initial letters rearranged spell Yeshua. Okay? Yeshua. Okay? So we know who's the Mashiach. Mashiach is Yeshua. Okay? He's the Mashiach ben Yosef ultimately, but there's only one soul of Mashiach, and we're all a part of it in one way or another. We all carry a spark of the Mashiach within us. Moshe was the first revelation of Mashiach. Okay, he was the first redeemer. He will be the last redeemer. He came again reincarnated as a Yeshua. He's at a much higher level of soul, the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef. He descended again into exile, and he will come back again as Mashiach ben Yosef once we've united those two prior revelations of Mashiach. The Mashiach that is revealed in Moshe, the Mashiach and the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh revealed within the letter of the Torah, and the Mashiach that's the soul of Mashiach at the level of Yechida, above the letter of the Torah. Those two need to be united together, the stick of Yehuda, the stick of Yosef, to reveal the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. And that's the light then that fills up the kingdom of David and the house of God that David will ultimately build. Okay, that is a house of prayer for all nations. And prayer is very much, prayer is like a vessel, isn't it? You're really requesting, you're opening yourself up to receive. A prayer is like you wanting to receive something. So that's also synonymous, isn't it? Whereas Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh is the giver that answers the prayer, that fills up that need that is expressed through prayer. So, all these things are glorious. Just reveal the glory of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. Death swallowed up eternally, and the bones of Yosef. So we know the Mispah Gadol plus the regular Mispah Gadol comes to 3,436, 4 times 859. Okay, so death swallowed up, the regular and the ordinal. I go through that number all the time. That's the number, that's rectified. Hameoroth, the luminaries. Okay, we've just looked at the word luminaries, but the luminaries come rectified. It's also spelt defective with 2 missing vowels. Comes to 731, the regular and the ordinal together, and Moshiach is 345, Yeshua is 386, and them together they come to 731. Death swallowed up. And also the King of Israel, it comes to 631 regular, 100 ordinal, add up together, 731. So Mashiach and Moshe and Yeshua, you need to be united together to swallow up death. They also, to reveal the King of Israel, who is Mashiach ben Dawid, they need to unite, and together they are the rectified luminaries. 859 linked up to this. Yeshua HaMashiach, so Yeshua HaMashiach, Yeshua is the Mashiach. 749 regular, 110 ordinally, comes to 859. And then we've also got this here. Where do we get that from? I think I might have I've taken something off there. I think so. Anyway, I think I took some numbers off, so I've just left that on. Okay. Let's see what else we've got. Right, this is interesting. And the raven after its species. I did a whole teaching on the concept of the raven. The raven is like, we should have a dove revealed. The dove, the Yonah, reveals the truth regarding Mashiach ben Yosef. But instead we're sort of battling with this, the dove in exile, which appears as a raven. And you've got that linked back to the whole concept of Noah and the ark, where he sent the raven out first, and the raven came back, but then the dove sent the dove out, the dove came back, but then the dove the second time picked up the olive branch. It's all messianic revelation about that Yeshua is the Mashiach, basically. I've gone over that loads, but you can see a link to that. Mashiach Yeshua is really connected to the whole concept of the holy dove, the holy Moshiach, that is the body of the holy dove of the Shekinah is Moshe, the right wing Mashiach ben David, the left wing Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, but in exile we don't have a revelation of that dove. We've got this like raven that we've got to battle with. But the ordinal of that verse comes to 139, which is Yonah Hanavi. The Yonah Hanavi, Jonah the prophet. Okay, so even hidden in this concept of the raven, and I have done teachings about it. And also raven can be rearranged to Ever, which is the origin of the name Hebrew, and it also means Arab in Hebrew. Okay. They did not know Yosef. They did not know that Yosef understood, for the interpreter was between them. So we've got a connection here, 332, back up to there, and back up to this verse that we've been looking at. Comes to 1,807, which is 13 times 139, connected to this again. Yonah Hanavi. Yonah Hanavi reveals the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, but somehow we've got to get beyond that image that is presented as a raven. The bird of redemption is all blackened up in exile, just as the Holy Queen, the Holy Shekinah, is blackened in exile. We've got to look beyond that. We've got to look beyond, well, what is beyond this exilic facade? What is hidden in this exilic facade? Well, the truth regarding Moshiach ben Yosef, and with that is accompanied the truth regarding the name Yod He Waw in his glory fully revealed. Okay? And I think with that I will say Shalom. Please subscribe and share these teachings.